got to know when to hold up, know when to fold up, know when to walk away, and know when to run. You never count your money. When you're sitting at the table, there'll be time enough for counting when the dealing's done.
It's your boy Brian Cotton. Keep pounding. Get ready to go do this grind today at work. Just want to talk a little bit about these Panthers. As I said in my last video, I said that, when I'm at work, I listen to the ESPN radio all day. Helps pass the time. But every day, they just dog Carolina. Never fails. Whether it's, they're talking about Andrew Luck versus Cam Newton. Which that, I'll make a video about that. Those are two completely different quarterbacks. And everybody likes to compare the two. They weren't even in the same draft class. Tired of people comparing Cam Newton to Andrew Luck to diss Cam Newton. Anyway, what I listened to yesterday was they had Peter King on the herd yesterday. Of course, they ask this question every day. Who's the team that was finished in first place last year is gonna finish last this year? Of course, the answer is always Carolina. I'm so tired of it. But anyway, what really got me yesterday was they talked to Peter King, and they asked Peter King. They said, he got done talking about, they got rid of all the weapons that Cam Newton had last year. Oh, yeah, Brandon LaFell and Ted Ginn and a slow Steve Smith. Yeah, they got rid of all his weapons, even though Greg Olsen, who's the best pass catcher on this team for the last 2 seasons. Yeah, he's still on Carolina, but they got rid of all his weapons. Anyway. He went through his rant, his whole talk about that, but then he got into talking about the running game and how if given Seattle's success last year, winning the Super Bowl, teams were going to go after, get back to running the football because, teams don't like to run the football anymore. And, so they were just talking about that. Peter King had the nerve to get on there and say that every team should model themselves after the Seattle Seahawks. They're the model franchise in the NFL. Now, I don't necessarily disagree with that because obviously they won the Super Bowl and they've been consistent the last 2 seasons. My issue with that is, how are you going to dog Carolina? Okay? Just dog Carolina. And then in your next breath, say that everybody should model themselves after Seattle. If there's any team in the NFL that models themselves after Seattle, it's the Carolina Panthers. Seattle was number 1 in defense last year. Carolina was number 2. Both teams finished in the top 10 in rushing. Bottom 5 in passing. In fact, I think Carolina had a better passing game than Seattle did last year, and that's pretty sad. And Seattle won the Super Bowl. People are just freaking out about losing Steve Smith, Brandon LaFell, and Ted Ginn. It's not that big of a deal, y'all. Steve Smith, I know that he got hurt. But even if he didn't get hurt in that New Orleans game, and he played the rest of that game and played in the Atlanta game, still not going to have 900 yards receiving. Greg Olsen is still going to be the leading receiver on this team, even if he doesn't get hurt. Brandon LaFell never improved. Brandon LaFell was Brandon LaFell. I'll get you almost 700 yards. And Ted Ginn, he was an outstanding punt returner. And he made some big plays in the passing game for Carolina last year. Also dropped the ball a lot. Didn't get 600 yards receiving for the Panthers last year. really just look at Carolina's wide receivers last year. And we're not even going to mention Dominique Hickson. Had a big touchdown catch against New Orleans that pretty much won us the division. But that was his only catch of merit in 16 games last year. So we're not even going to. When people say Carolina lost their top 4 wide receivers and they put Dominique Hickson in there, that just gets me so riled up. Dominique Hickson basically didn't play last year because he was hurt during the preseason, and Ted Ginn took his spot. He had 5 catches last year. Stop saying that Dominique Hickson was one of the top 4. Yes, technically he was. But he didn't play last year. He had 5 catches. Seattle's wide receivers. Percy Harvin missed pretty much the whole season. Jermaine Kearse and Doug Baldwin led that team in receiving at the wide receiver spot in Seattle. And you want dog Carolina for having Jericho Cotchery and Jason Avant and Kelvin Benjamin this year. I just don't. It's just a selective memory, selective arguments. That's what a lot of these sports, NFL experts do all the time. If you're going to say that model yourself after Seattle, then don't sit there and diss the team that models themselves after Seattle. No, Carolina does not have beast mode, but they've got Cam Newton, Mike Tolbert, D'Angelo Williams, and sometimes Jonathan Stewart. That's a 4-headed monster. 3-headed monster most of the time. Stewart makes it a 4-headed monster some of the time. That's a good running game. Jericho Cotchery, Jason Avant, and Kelvin Benjamin, they compare quite nicely to Seattle's top 3 wide receivers. Seattle's got the Legion of Boom in the secondary. Carolina's got that defensive line. Monsters Inc. Carolina and Seattle are almost mirror images of each other. And everybody says Seattle's great, and everybody dogs Carolina. But they say you need to be like Seattle. That's my rant for the day. Got to go do this thing at work. It's almost here. We got another game on Sunday. Kind of nervous about it. Cam Newton coming back. I hope that they don't make him do anything but hand the ball off and maybe throw a few passes. I don't want to see Cam Newton get hurt. So, anyways, Brian Cotton, going to keep pounding, and I'll have another video sometime soon.